Buckle up, boys and girls, because class is starting and it's going to kick your ass. This is the Prepared Mind.
Fake carrots. Fake fruit. Fake. Fake. Fake grapefruits. Fake. Liar! You liar!
No need to stand by. It's time for the Prepared Mind show, folks. Welcome back. It is Monday. It is the afternoon already. And yes, since I talked to you this morning, more shit has gone haywire, off the hook, more threats of war, SHTF, civil unrest, absolutely ridiculous government. I hope you are strapped in. Get your questions down below with Mr. Ooman. Jolene will check in later, as usual. But here we are, folks. Have you looked outside? Have you checked the weather? I went outside, put my finger in the air and went, oh yeah, we got an SHTF storm coming our way. Now, let's start with this. Let's go to Israel. And Benjamin King Bibi Netanyahu has something for the world to hear. He wants to do a World War III upgrade. Hey, you bet. You bet. And Netanyahu says, well, Biden has a red line. I've got a red line. That was a paraphrase. Now, if you remember the other night, Biden admitted that, he's an idiot. I know everyone's aware of that, right? Remember when he said that, well, he's going to have a talk with Bibi and there's going to be a come to Jesus moment. That went over really well, kind of like a turd in a punch bowl. And Biden basically admitted, folks, to this fact. He admitted, folks, on MSNBC that if they did a ceasefire for the month of Ramadan, that would give Hamas a chance to regroup and rearm themselves. So that makes a lot of sense, right? Let them have their holy time, Ramadan, and then they can regroup and rearm. Well, Biden, he told, right, he got caught on the hot mic and said, I told him, Bibi, and don't you repeat this, but you are going to have a come to Jesus meeting. Oh, okay, he can say that. But Netanyahu told reporters and was asked if he was going to go ahead with the invasion of Rafah, another area of the Gaza Strip, Palestine. And this is what Netanyahu said. We'll go there. We're not going to leave them, meaning leave the terrorists alone. You know, I have a red line. You know what the red line is? That October 7 doesn't happen again. Never happens again. Now, I'm going to leave behind the dangerous conspiracy theory that Israel allowed the October 7th attack, murder, hostage taking, etc. And I know, and I've read the shall we say, rabbinical philosophy about life and value, etc., and some of their strange rules they have. But this red line, it happened. Do you think they're going to invade Rafah? I do. I think they're going to continue to push forward. And Washington, D.C. and Europe are going to continue to call for a ceasefire during Ramadan. Which is just basic political pandering on their part. Now let's talk about war. SHTF. Human nature. If you recall the people who went from their country into, well, the Israeli country or side of the country and killed men, killed women, killed grandmothers, killed grandfathers, killed children, killed pregnant women, killed unborn babies. They killed everyone. They raped everyone, folks. It's okay to do that, but you're not allowed to retaliate during Ramadan. this continuing excuse and demand that the Muslim faith be respected above and beyond everything. Was there any consideration given to the religious beliefs and practices of people that jihadis want to kill? Do you think they give a shit whether it's your birthday or the nation's celebration of secular holidays? Do you think they give a shit if it's Easter or Christmas? Or do you think terrorists just attack when it suits them? Just be honest. Let's be honest about this. You don't win a war by letting your enemy get away. You don't win a war by letting your enemy dictate the rules of war. You win a war by defeating your enemy. Period. Period. I mean, Joe Biden is an absolute idiot. He is, right? He's a troglodyte. Now, in war, this is my opinion. Tell me if I'm wrong. In war, one side is supposed to lose. The other side is supposed to win. You win by killing the other people, by advancing on their positions and destroying them. War means that people die. Military and civilian deaths happen in a war. They always have. They're happening now, and I expect in the future that that's how it's going to happen. So Gaza, Palestine, Hamas, the terrorists, the civilians all have to suffer until this war is over. And the same goes for Israel, all of its cities, its civilians, etc. They're all going to suffer and people are going to die until the war is over. The best way for wars to end is for one side to be defeated. And that's how it works. Otherwise, if you just trade tit for tat, a little terror here, a little retaliation there, you end up with what we've had for like the last 40, 50, 60 years. You have endless terrorism and you have endless terrorist responses, and it never solves the problem. I like problems to be solved. That's basically what I do for a living, solve problems. I don't like, in this case, that both sides are assholes. I especially do hate terrorists, though, who murder innocent civilians, and they do so intentionally. That's why they're terrorists. But now that war is broken out, someone has to lose. Someone needs to lose. If Israel does leave Hamas intact, they will recruit, they will rebuild, they will rearm, and they will retaliate for decades, forever, until they are fully and properly defeated. I don't want to pick sides on this, but I don't see Hamas as a legitimate government. I see them as a terror organization. Israel, on the other hand, let's see, it did have that whole USS Liberty attack thing back in, what was it, 1956? Or was it 66? I can't remember at the moment. They've just pissed me off, every last one of these people. Who wants war, right? Who wants war? Well, it's quite interesting, folks. Apparently, everybody in government. Now, I am not a huge fan of the current Catholic Pope. And Pope Francis, he is now being criticized heavily and strongly because he suggested, he had an idea, hey, Ukraine, you have to, quote, have the courage to raise the white flag. In other words, you have to give up. You have to surrender. Well, everyone's criticizing the Pope for this. And I just figured, well, I guess. So much for the Pope's infallibility. If you guys understand what that is, every Pope, once they're poperized, they are considered infallible. Every decision they make, every word they utter must be correct. Cannot be argued with. But here we have everyone criticizing and arguing. Well, he's the Pope. He represents the Catholic faith. If he wants to have that opinion, let him have it. But apparently people are just letting him have it. At least the Pope, as much as I do not like him, wants peace and not more death. The Pope doesn't want guaranteed death. Right? So, Once again, I don't want war in Gaza and Palestine and Israel, but it's happening. I would love for Hamas to surrender. Not going to happen. I would love to see Israel surrender, but they're winning the war. So they're thinking, why should we? When it comes to Russia and Ukraine, Russia is winning the war. So why should they give up? Ukraine is the one who is getting sacked, and they need to give up. Right? But it seems to me that all the politicians want death, they want war, and they want Russians dead. Remember that little line from Senator Lindsey Light and the Loafers Graham? What did he say? Right? The money that was used to kill Russians was the best money the government ever spent. They want to continue and go to war against Russia, folks. And it sounds like genocide to me. I think Ukraine is committing genocide with their own people. This is incredible what is happening out here. And it's not going to stop, folks. It's not going to go away. It just isn't. But that's some of our international news. But wait, there's more. Haven't we said that Democrats they are a cult of death? Folks, when shit hits the fan, first hit, big time, cerveza bug was the cause. And what is it? Well, it's death, disease. And they wanted us to believe it was real and that we were all at risk and we were all going to die. It was the cult of death. And you had to sacrifice to the cult of death by hiding in your house. Democrats pushed this cult all over us, folks. Remember that? I don't forgive, I don't forget. Democrats, folks. Now, just like the Democrats of the United States, world leadership also belong to a cult of death. Now, in France, they put abortion in their constitution. They have now canonized secularly the right to commit an act of violence against an unborn child. France's Macron, the president, right? He's not happy with just abortion. Now he is recommending that France canonizes euthanasia and assisted suicide. Isn't that fascinating? Hey, euthanasia, which means the government will kill you, or you can kill yourself. Assisted suicide. You're killing babies, you're killing the elderly, you're killing people who are sick. They just want to kill everybody. I'm sure they want to kill their conservatives. I'm sure Marine Le Pen of France is pretty worried about this. Cult of death. It's not just a cult of death, though, folks. It's a cult of stupid, beyond belief. By the way, have you got your questions down below? I tell you what did we do? We did, I think, 4 shots of scotch last night during the zoo. Is it about 4, Uman? Yeah, I still had the same size headache this morning as I do when I have 8 shots. So if I'm going to have a headache, we need to hit at least 8 to make it worth it. Oh, man. But seriously, better now. All is good. But fixing stupid, folks, it's just not going to happen. It's not going to happen. Here in America, get this. Governor Inslee of Washington State, he is going to criminalize free speech when he and the legislature team up to violate your constitutional rights. Are you ready to hear this? Free speech is going to be criminalized. We discussed this a couple of days ago when someone was convicted of having bias against someone else. So bias expression, folks, is going to allow anyone, including family and friends, to complain about somebody else. Right? You can't have bias against anyone else if this law passes. What is bias? Is bias disagreeing with someone's opinion? Is bias treating somebody with discriminatory attitude? Now, I'm going to take you back to when I was in the world of corporate business. This whole idea of sexual harassment. It wasn't whether or not I was harassing somebody sexually. That wasn't hard to understand, but it was hard to understand that, let's just say I was flirting with a coworker. And if somebody else witnessed that flirting, then I'm guilty of sexual harassment because they felt uncomfortable. That's how fucking stupid these people are. What if a woman is flirting with me? Yep, same story. Anybody is guilty as long as somebody else's feelings are hurt. Somebody else's feelings are affected. Somebody else feels unsure of themselves or insecure or upset. Then it's sexual harassment if they decide it's sexual in nature. They're taking that one step further, folks. Bias. And bias is not a crime, folks. Free speech is not a crime. Free speech is a right, and no fucking fruitcake governor, no legislature, or even the president can stop speech. But they're going to try. I mean, what if some butt plunger decides your facial expression is biased, right? You see them and you're like, you roll your eyes. Here comes fruitcake again, right? Oh, that's bias. That's treating them with bias. Your facial expressions, your body language, the tone of your voice. Well, how about if maybe there's a tranny out there, a trans testicle, who you didn't know was a trans testicle because you weren't paying attention, because you don't give a shit. But they want to complain and say you treated them with bias. This is political correctness taken to the utmost communist degree. We all knew, folks, screwball, hate-filled Democrats wanted to see this happen. As far as I'm concerned, it's too fucking bad, communists. The Supreme Court will shoot that shit down. And if they don't, the people will have to shoot it out. The last thing I'm going to do is pay a fine, be labeled a criminal, be detained by a policeman or arrested, and go to jail because some fruit salad sphincter pirate has their feelings hurt because they don't like my tone of voice, my expression, the way I look, the way I act, or anything. They're going to bring their attitude into every interaction and make sure they're treated the way they want to be treated. This is bullshit. Intact and safe feelings is not a right. Try me, Governor Inslee. Try me, any governor. Folks, we're getting there. They're pushing Americans way hard, way far. The Democrats are doing it on purpose. They're a cult of death. They're a cult of destruction, and they're trying to destroy everything about you and your country. And I'm going to give you an example of what's already happened. Shit has hit the fan. Are you aware? Get your comments down below. Tell me what you think of this shit. In Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, the police are not going to respond to 911 calls anymore, folks. Did you know that? If it's a theft, if you're being harassed, threatened violently, and burglar alarms, no more will the police respond to these things because of staffing shortages. They don't have enough police in Pittsburgh. The former mayor froze police hiring because Black Lives Matter rioted in 2020. So they said, hey, we don't want you to riot anymore, so we're not going to hire any more police. Well, let's see, police retire, police quit, police get injured on the job, police get shot, stabbed, beat up. They're losing their police. So no more responding to 911 calls. What's the fucking point of having 911 emergency calls? Oh, John, assault, home invasion, rape. Yeah. Well, maybe they're not going to respond to assault. What if they don't have the staffing to deal with every assault call, every home invasion? What if they say, well, some assaults, yes, but right now we're too busy. Sorry, you're on your own. Remember this. Police, help. And they're like, sorry, you're on your own. And you're like, well, fuck me then. Bam. You're on your own. Assault. What about home invasion? 911, yes, someone's trying to beat down my front door. You don't have enough staff today. Freddie and George called in sick, so I'm on my own? Fuck me? Okay, thank you, police. I'm glad I'm paying all the same taxes I've always paid, plus more, plus inflation, and you guys won't answer the fucking phone and get out here and deal with this. Folks, what about rape? If you hear some woman getting raped, screaming, her house has been home invaded and she's getting raped, think the police are going to show up? Maybe, maybe not. What if the person who answers the phone at dispatch goes, okay, we'll dispatch someone, just hang on. We're going to find someone. May take a while. You're going to wait not just 5 minutes, not just 15 minutes. How about 30 minutes? A fucking hour. We'll have someone there tomorrow to come take a report. The police are not going to respond, folks, as long as they have an excuse not to. To the majority of law-abiding, constitutional, tax-paying Americans, the police in this situation are not useful. They're not useful to us anymore because they can't do their job, because they have been neutered on the one hand. On the other hand, look, just the whole thing is fucked up. The whole thing is jacked up. And the left wing, folks, the Democrats out there, are completely 100% retarded. They think defunding the police is fine, that social workers can help people get along better, that these college students know what the fuck is happening. Folks, they're that stupid. Well, if you treat someone with bias, it's a crime. Except, let's see, white men, or white people, period, Christians and Republicans can be treated with the worst kind of bias. Harassed, threatened, harassed. Police don't give a shit. They can go stand in traffic and use their left-wing retarded bias to fuck your day up, to make you late to work, to make you miss an appointment, which costs you money. If you are late to a dental or doctor's appointment, it costs you money now. They'll fucking charge you for being late. That's fine. That's not bias. Yes, it actually is, folks. That's how stupid these people are. That's how dangerous they are. Let me give you an example of how stupid and dangerous, folks. Yes, Democrats are that retarded. They always have been, there always will be, and they're getting worse by the day. A writer, folks, a script writer, a movie writer asked, where are the black people? And what it was is it was a samurai movie series set in ancient Japan. Right? They're redoing Shogun. I think it's James Clavell's Shogun. Right? Guess what? In ancient Japan, they didn't have any black people. Yet the writer wants to know, where are they? They're not in ancient Japan. That's how stupid they are. That's how dangerous they are, folks. Do you have any doubts? Do you have any doubts that you should be prepared? Food, water, shelter, clothing, medicine, means of self-defense. You need to have what you need to have, because it's not going to get any better. It just isn't. Now, before we get to the before we get to the inner circle, we need to have a take a wild guess. Right from the Pfizer files, let's take a wild guess. my goodness. This is interesting. A veteran wrestler, age 50, died following a match. Yoshi is this person's name. Yatuka Yoshi was participating in the Takasaki tournament before dying suddenly in the locker room. Age 50? Okay, that's a problem. I can't say that is guaranteed to be Jim Jones juice. But what about this? How about a 28-year-old super athlete? That's right, Swedish soccer star dies. No, wait a minute. I take that back. Didn't die. Not putting him in that column. He's been diagnosed with multiple blood clots in his brain after a huge and frightening collapse, and he's in the ICU, intensive care. Take a wild guess how a 28-year-old Swedish super athlete. I can see a 50-year-old wrestler, okay, maybe that's not the Jim Jones juice, but a 28-year-old super athlete, not buying it, folks. I am not going to get anywhere near that Jim Jones juice. It is bad stuff. Good golly. It's there. Every day, folks. Reaffirmed. I want to thank everybody for showing up, sitting down. It is, and by the way, I'm completely messed up from the switch of daylight savings. Once again, I like, the sun coming up a little later in the morning and going a little later in the evening. That's great. But man, when you switch from the other system, crazy stuff. Now, the other day I reported that in New York State, Governor Hochul, who looks like the Wicked Witch of the East, Governor Hochul says she wants National Guard in New York City on the subways, train stations, bus stations, any public transportation. She said she wants National Guard. Well, I asked the question, are they going to be armed? Well, nope. She says National Guard will not have long rifles, aka M16s or M4s. They won't have rifles while they work. So what are they going to do? Are they going to carry sidearms? Are they going to be armed with pistols, guns? Or are they going to be unarmed victims? Basically, they are nothing but, feel-good props. Feel-good props. They're like flavorless salad dressing. It's just like, what's the point of having it there? Okay, Governor Hochul, there's not enough police, folks, in New York City. There's not enough police in Pittsburgh. There's not enough police in Chicago. Are you seeing a pattern here? Are you prepared to deal with trouble if it comes knocking at your bunker door or your house door? We're going to find out. We're going to find out. Wow. It doesn't, it's just not going to get any better. It really isn't. From the politicians, folks, to the idiot protesters, to the voters, we need to take this country back the right way. Now, you all remember Mr. Ratspermberger of Georgia. I talked about him, and the evidence is now confirming that the Secretary of State of Georgia, Raffenspermberger, a supposed Republican, but he's a rhino and the worst kind. Let's see. A rhino Republican hates Trump, so he illegally recorded a call from President Trump. And then Ratspermberger promoted a bullshit lie transcript. Then he sent that bullshit and lie from the illegal recording to the Washington Post, sent it to the Wa Post, and then he disposed of the evidence. But he's caught, folks. He's been caught. I wonder if he's going to be prosecuted. What do you think? What do you think? Well, how about Liz Cheney, another no Trump, anti-Trump, rhino, Trump-hating sack of shit. She got voted out of office by the people of the United States of America. But there's now information that's being revealed that Liz Piggy Cheney, that she deceived Americans. She deceived Congress concerning the events of January 6th. And now there are serious calls, folks, for her arrest and her prosecution for hiding evidence, for modifying evidence, for refusing due process. What we need, folks, is we need a real attorney general to clean out these scumbags in government and to clean out the FBI. And I wonder if Liz Piggy Cheney and Ratspermberger will get to share hot prison showers together. We'll find out. I am not putting a lot of faith in those two getting arrested. But in a real world, they would be. In the real world, criminals get caught, especially when they're public officials, openly doing everything they can to violate your rights, to violate the law, to violate our good sense. It's just everything they do, right? Either the Supreme Court shoots down these people and the attorney generals start upholding the law, or we're going to have to shoot it down ourselves. And I'm not talking about being violent, folks. I'm talking about voting it down. But violence is coming, no doubt. All right, we're back. It is now your turn. It is time for the Q&A, the inner circle. If you're a member of, the preparedmind.club, premium member, or subscribestar.com, right? You got two choices, and they're both $2 a month, and they both get you here live every day. So Mikey G's got a question, a comment, a statement, a prediction. Doesn't cost a dime to get it up on the screen. You can just participate at will. And Mikey G says, like I said, welcome to the new Gaza parking lot. It's happening, folks. War is hell. Now what gets me is now Joe Biden, now the European Union, they want peace in Palestine. They want peace in Gaza. We need to have a month of peace for Ramadan. We want Israel to stop killing their enemies, who their enemies have threatened and promised to kill all the Jews, all the Israelis, and destroy Israel as a state. Well, guess what? These same leaders don't want to stop fighting in Russia or against Russia in what was once Ukraine, but is now free and independent states. Isn't it funny how war bad in Gaza, war good against Russia, war bad in Palestine, war good against Putin, Hamas good, Putin bad. I don't look at Gaza and say there was a thriving, beautiful, just great, right on the coast. What a great place to live. Beautiful skyscrapers and hotels and parks and public transportation systems. The business community there. It's an investment haven. No, it's none of those things, folks. It's none of those things. Kind of like Haiti. It's a shithole. And in fact, that's a big deal today. Fucking Haiti, right? After Trump called nations that are fucked up shitholes, right? The Democrats, these left-wing fruitcake entertainers and media persons, they all wore shirts, Trump is wrong and Haiti's great. Well, he was saying there's a problem in Haiti. And now that problem has gone from look at that corruption to, hey, look at that government failing. And Barbecue and his revolutionary warriors are running around while setting fire, killing people, killing cops. That sounds just like BLM, but it's happening down in Haiti. Anyways, yes, Gaza is getting flattened. What a mess. I do not want any Palestinians in the United States of America. They don't belong here. They're not Americans. They don't understand the American way. They don't understand our Constitution. They don't understand rights. They are radical, radical people, and they don't belong in this country. I think that if they want to put them in this country, they should put them in, well, the houses of Democrats. If you want to let them in, put them in your house. The moment you say they leave, they go to another Democrat's house, or they leave the country. I think that would be just fine. I think that would be an effective form of birth control for Democrats. We need less of them, folks, and more hardworking, well, shall we say, productive, ingenious Americans, not these people. We don't need them. Okay, Mr. Uman, let us move on if we shall. Uman says, the Hamas holes, the Hamas holes were bitching that their terms of surrender were not being met. Now, I can tell you the Geneva Convention, one of the rules is you cannot refuse to accept surrender. If your enemy wants to surrender, you must accept it. You must allow it. That's how the rules work. I don't remember the Hamas holes saying they want to surrender. I heard they want to cease fire. Cease fire is not a surrender. There's a big difference, folks. Waving the white flag is a form of, halt, let's talk, right? Let's negotiate. Well, if you're going to call for permanent negotiation, well, there is no permanent negotiation. There is permanent cease of hostilities with surrender. I think people have completely fucking forgotten what war is and what happens in war. Shit gets blown up, people get killed, everyone is not happy. But, there it is. Their terms were not being met. You can't demand a ceasefire. You can't demand a timeout. All you can do is wave the white flag and say, we surrender. And then you sit down and you negotiate the terms. And the person who loses doesn't get to be the one who makes the demands of the other side. Let me give you a little taste of what it's like to surrender. When the United States had a civil war, General Lee at, I can never say the word. Forgive me, I can't say some words, like Appomattox. That's where they had the terms of surrender negotiated. The South, the Confederacy, surrendered. The breakaway republic of the Confederacy, they surrendered. And after the terms of surrender were forced on General Lee, he said, if I had known that's what they were going to demand, I never would have surrendered. When you lose, you don't get to say what the terms are. You just fucking lose, and you're told this is what you will live by. World War I, Germany was blamed, right? An assassin from the Black Hand, that's right, a group called the Black Hand, had an assassin, killed the Archduke Francis Ferdinand, started World War I. After the war was over, everyone blamed Germany. Germany was given the bill, like what today would be trillions of dollars in restitution that had to be paid to everybody else who were equally busy fighting in the fucking war. But, that's surrender. If you get your ass kicked and everyone's pointing a gun at you and you say, I give up, I surrender, they tell you what you get to be and what the terms are. That's how this shit works. I guess we're going to find out the hard way when reality and the lessons it's taught are forgotten. And freedom, what it takes to achieve freedom and to maintain freedom, that has been forgotten by a vast majority of people. The value of freedom has been forgotten. And here we are. All right, Mr. Uman, I appreciate that. And we move on to James Nicholson. If you've got something to say, get it in and down into the comments for Uman, and he'll put them on the screen. So James says, good evening, John. Is it legal for the Biden administration to bring us back under the Global Compact for Migration with the United Nations? What are your thoughts? Anything repugnant to the Constitution is null and void. The Constitution establishes that our borders, entry into the country, in other words, has to follow guidelines. The United Nations, if it's, shall we say, treaties or compact, if it violates our Constitution, then no, it cannot be allowed. That's my opinion. I am not the Supreme Court, sadly, because I could fix a lot of fucking problems real quick. But this entire United Nations thing, the non-government organizations that are out there that are funding the destruction of sovereignty, they're funding the destruction of culture and tradition and our Western way of life and thinking. I do not particularly care, folks, for the laws and rules and constitutions of European nations. The one that is closest to what we have is England. And it is failing miserably and utterly. All those nations in Europe are failing as they continue to import the worst people from around the world to come live in their countries. We're going to end up not with a melting pot, folks, but with a violent partisan war. And it's going to be not just the United States. I believe it's going to be the entire planet. From fruited plain to fruited plain, people are going to have to pay the hard way. I think there's going to be a housing glut after all that happens. Thank you, James, very much. Mr. Uman, where do we want to roll next? And we got something from Bonnie Blue 2A. Bonnie Blue, I was just wondering, I think it was this morning, hadn't heard from you in a while. Good to have you back. She says a report came out today that said the number of farms in the United States has declined by 141,733. That is a 7% reduction in farms that are operating, and that occurred between 2017 and 2022. There was a 20 million acre decline, which is a 2.2% decrease in the amount of farming land being used. And over 98% of those farms that shut down, right? So 98% of 141,000 farms were family farms. So just a few, 2% of those failures were corporate farms. The rest were family farms, which means families who have more than likely, to the best of my knowledge of what a family farm is, farm for generation after generation after generation. I wonder why the number of farms has declined, shut down. Family farms. Could it be Biden? Could it be the Democrats? Could it be overregulation? Could it be government interference and government taxes from local to county to state to federal? Well, I tell you what, me going to the store and buying dinner didn't shut down farms. Me paying whatever the stores demand did not shut down any farms. But I don't go to the farm and demand they pay me money for the opportunity to grow vegetables, to grow livestock. You bet your ass, folks, government has caused this, and it's not going to get better. Hardly at all will it get better. Thank you, Bonnie Blue 2A. Great to have you back. I hope you are safe and sound in that middle part of the country where I know you're at. Okay, Mr. Uman, where do we roll next? We've got Barking Wolf Spider. He's back. He says, the more I learn, the more of an anarchist I become. Now, folks, anarchists. There's several definitions that are bantered about. One type of anarchist hates all government. Another type of anarchist just wants to live on their own and not be bothered by government. Some anarchists want to overthrow, let's say, a Republican form of government and install their own totalitarian system. A lot of people claim the title anarchist. Let's see what Barking Wolf Spider is talking about. He says, I still say mankind screwed up when we planted that first damn crop of grain. Surplus of food equals more stupid survives. That's the surplus of food means more stupid survives. Stupid activity, stupid people. Okay, so I'm going to take what you've put out here, and I'm going to agree with you. And additional food, a glut of food, a great harvest, or very successful animal husbandry, which means your flock of sheep, your herd of cows, your gaggle of geese, right? Your yards full of chickens. If you've done really well, there's extra food. People aren't going to starve. But that was just the first, shall we say, in this instance, the first screw up. Other screw ups have come along the way by allowing stupid and weak people to not only live and prosper, but also reproduce. We've created the problem we have today. We reward idiotic people by giving them welfare. We take care of people who can't take care of themselves, so we have more people taking from us, demanding from us. Hell, not only can they take and demand from us, but they can complain if you treat them poorly and say that you're biased. Jeez. Right? I hear you, man. Anarchy can be, if defined a certain way, can be relative to libertarianism. That is to say, government is only authorized to have certain roles to play. And beyond that, it's prohibited, forbidden. Right? Is that a form of anarchy? Anarchy is a living without a government, living without rules. Well, if all human beings could do that, live without rules, that is to say, to treat everyone to the golden rule and do it well, right? Treat others as you would have them treat you. Do unto others as you would have them do unto you. Then we wouldn't have a need for government. But other peoples, other cultures, they want to destroy our culture. Right? Terrorists hate America. Because of that, we cannot have and live under anarchy or a lawless or completely libertarian society. We have to have government. Government has to protect the people, protect the country, and protect our culture and traditions and laws. That is government's role. That should be its only role, not telling me what to do or telling you what crops you can plant or telling you what kind of, how many chickens you can have if you're even allowed to have chickens in your yard. I think we've got a nation full of fucking Karens who won't shut their pie holes, who won't get out of the way, who think it's their personal business to tell you what to do with your property, your car, your job, your life, your kids, your opinions, your ideas. I think we have too much fucking government in this country. Literally, we have layer after layer after layer of interference and taxation, from federal government to state government to county government to city government to homeowners associations. Yeah, I'm going to pick on HOAs. They're full of a bunch of whining, sniveling bitches. Haven't met one yet that isn't full of someone who thinks they're God Almighty and powerful because they can screw with your piece of property. One of the hallmarks of a free people is property rights. Without property rights, folks, you aren't free. And in this country, when your neighbor can complain and cause your property to be cause you to be penalized for something you've done or haven't done on your property, you got a problem. If the government can tax you for owning property, you've got a problem. Right? You don't have property if the government can regulate it, tax it, and take it. That's how far down into the shits this country has come. Anyways, Barking Wolf Spider, great topic. I understand your disgust with human beings because there's so many of these takers out here. These left-wing, what did I call them? Sphincter pirates? Those types of people, these left-wing, bleeding heart, liberal idiots who want to import crime, disease, and ignorance into this country. They're doing it on purpose. They know what they're doing, and they think it's funny. They think it's cute. They like it. Well, I don't, and we're going to have something to say about it in the next couple of years. Mr. Uman, let's do it again. Who's up next? Uman says he just saw a story that Alberta, Canada, that's a province, folks. It's a state. Alberta, Canada has put a ban on certain wind and solar renewables and potentially affects $11 billion in investments. Not just because they don't work as well. Not just because they don't work as well as FF, but because it spoils scenic views. Tree huggers are beating the greenies once again. Once again, we have the Democrats fighting amongst themselves. I'll tell you what, the reason for nature conservancy is not a modern idea. It was actually started under President Teddy Roosevelt. He started the national park system, wanted to preserve the pristine views and beauty of America in the national park system. Well, I don't blame him. I like beautiful parks and scenery too. But I've been told if I don't own something, I don't get to say what is done with it. But it's funny how these activists, first we have activists that say, we need windmills, we need solar. And then you have other left-wing Democrat, socialist, communist activists who jump up and down and scream, it's bad for the land, it's bad for the environment. Now, what I can tell you, having come from extreme Northern California and having dealt with one of these windmill corporations that was trying to get Obama bucks. That's right, getting your money to pay for their projects that were to be put on public lands. I can tell you they're incredibly environmentally destructive. It takes an enormous amount of carbon-based electricity to create cement, aggregate, trucks, tractors, construction equipment, road equipment, just to make the roads to get into these places where you're going to set an enormous hundreds and hundreds of feet tall windmill. Yeah, they're ugly as fuck. That chop birds to pieces. Those windmill blades, folks, at the tip are going well over 100 miles an hour. Did you know that? When you got a blade span from tip to tip of 200 feet, it's moving fast. Doesn't look like it because it's so large, but they move fast. They destroy land. They are an eyesore. They cause health problems for animals and humans. So I'm not a fan of them. I don't like spending public or taxpayer money on them. At the same time, folks, what are you going to do? Now we have the green weenies fighting green weenies. The green weenies versus the green weenies. They want to save the world with carbon-free energy that takes mountains of carbon to make solar panels and windmills. Mountains of carbon, folks. Huge amounts of carbon to create, to mine, process steel, to make these huge steel towers that these unrecyclable, nasty, filthy propeller blades are put on. I don't like them. I don't like the fucking windmills a bit. Solar panels, on the other hand, I think they're kind of interesting, but they need to figure out how to recycle them too. They don't know how to recycle them. They have minuscule amounts of silver in them on an individual basis. Collectively, they have hundreds of millions, if not billions of ounces of silver in all these solar panels. I think it's hundreds of millions a year are put into solar. But in order to get it out, you have to do an incredible amount of work, and no one's figured out how to do it. How to recycle the fan blades that get destroyed every couple of years on these windmills, and how to recycle solar panels. But it's all the result of green weenies. My solution? Small modular reactors set up to support local infrastructure and to decentralize our power production network in the country. It'll create jobs. It is almost carbon-free energy. There's got to be some carbon in there because you're putting in concrete, right? And it's supposed to be remarkably safe now. Fail-safe, automatic shutdown. Power can be off, and they can still shut themselves down and cool. Wouldn't that be a nice thing to have? Safe, reliable, base load power. No, let's get more windmills and more solar panels and have Democrats battling it out for whether or not nature wins or green weenie energy wins. Anyways, thank you, Mr. Uman. That's good stuff. I've got just a couple of seconds, so I want to go over what has happened since we started the show. I love doing this. I don't know what's here, but let me look. Yes, there it is. There's just in the 1 hour we've been talking. Biden is holding a campaign meeting, right? A rally. And he starts to talk and ask, am I allowed to take questions? And they cut the mic on him because he's an idiot. He's an idiot. And Biden's HUD secretary, Marcia Fudge, has resigned. I got to know more about this one. Why did Marcia fudge? It looks like she worked at a fudge factory and ate all of the goodies. Let's see. Her cabinet post, housing and urban development. That's what HUD is, by the way. Yep. What she says, I have fully embraced HUD's mission to create strong, sustainable, inclusive communities and quality, affordable homes for all. Well, there is nothing efficient about government. So quality, affordable housing, but inclusive. There's the I word, inclusive, which means include people that you don't want to include. Sphincter pirates, drag queens who want to help your children learn to read. I don't think so. All these people are wackos. Let's see if there's anything else popped up. Let me check this other news site here. Wow. It seems that the Justice Department, according to Alex Jones, is weeks away from shutting down InfoWars. How interesting is that? Folks, shit is hit the fan. I hope you're prepared with food, water, shelter, clothing, medicine, means of self-defense. These left-wingers, they're going after each other, and they're also coming after you and me and our kids and our grandkids. Are you prepared? There's you, and there's 10 miles around you. In one day, any one of these wackos can walk anywhere from within that and get to you. Are you prepared to deal with them? If you call the police, hello, 911, I'm having an emergency. Please send a cop. Oh, we don't have any cops. No sheriff's deputies. No one to help. Okay, thank you. I'll take care of this myself. Are you ready for that moment, that day? Are you prepared. Semper Fi to all. God bless America. We need it. Get active. Prep to action. And I'll see you guys first thing tomorrow, 0 Dark 30.